please tell me what were the main findings or conclusions of this comparative research study?
No. Well, the comparative study was done in 9 different EU countries. So the main finding is that basically that the temporary, mobile and cross-border mobility of posted workers create situations of multiple vulnerabilities for them. What does this mean is that moving from one country to the other, workers oftentimes find themselves with little or insufficient information about the national POOSH systems, but also healthcare, for example, in case of accidents, and where to go to and how to address any grievances that they might have. And this is the result partly of their lack of knowledge, but it's also because they hesitate sometimes, especially if they are not sure about their status, to go to the authorities, and also because sometimes the authorities are also not sure of how to respond to their needs in terms of the laws applicable, or whether they could take over a particular posted workers case, or whether it's the authorities on the other side of the border that could do this. At the same time, we find that posted workers are usually located in industries and workplaces where there is little or no trade union or other forms of collective organization, which means that they do not get the support they could in navigating the complex national systems that exist out there. We see through our research that the public authorities and the trade unions are involved actively in this matter, but still they themselves report that lack of human resources and sometimes confusion about distribution of roles and language barriers have a negative effect on the success rate of their work. And in fact, talking about language barriers, we found that in some countries this is more visible than in others, also because of the countries of origin where posted workers come from. So if it's neighboring countries, or if it's a similar or the same language, like in the case of posting, for example, from Austria to Germany, language barriers are smaller than in other cases where the languages of the posted workers are completely different from the country where they are posted to. And the language barriers effect is in terms of access to information, to be able to pursue a grievance in case of an accident or occupational illness, and also in terms of socializing in the local community while they are posted.
Do you have any recommendations for the policymakers and other stakeholders?
Now, in the report, you'll find a list of recommendations targeting specific stakeholders and different levels, from the EU level to the workplace level. But in general, as a pervasive recommendation that we give in the report is that when designing policy and when designing mechanisms of intervention, authorities and policymakers should be aware of the fact that posted workers are temporary, are mobile, and are moving across the borders. So policy should be shaped to respond to this kind of employment, in terms of, for example, having quicker processes of investigation and intervention, or strengthening collaboration across borders, facilitating communication between authorities, expediting procedures of exchange between authorities, and also make the POOSH of posted workers more visible in policy documents. On another level, we feel that the role of the employer is very important in applying POOSH rules and regulations. By law, in most countries, the employer is responsible for providing information, the training, and also the protective equipment. However, we find that more should be done for them to take their responsibility seriously. And one recommendation that is given, especially in the case of a posting, which is obviously part of subcontracting chains, is to make any contractor on site accountable for what happens to posted workers on site. We feel that if any contractor along the subcontracting chain is made responsible, that would facilitate the process of enforcing the rules and regulation on OSH of the posted workers.